Kristin, and you're listening to Podcast and Amplify, a podcast for women entrepreneurs who want to amplify their voice and brand through podcasting and grow a wildly successful business. I'm the executive producer and host of 2 shows and an entrepreneur, and I love helping women grow their visibility, mindset, and business to the next level. Each week, I share tips on how to launch and leverage your podcast, and I'm bringing on the very best business leaders to give you advice on how to build your business empire. Let's amplify your voice and business. I want to talk a little bit today about how you figure out what is your podcast niche. Now, this is important because we're talking about what is going to differentiate you from other podcasts. You really cannot be everything to everyone, nor should you be, because as they say, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. So that's why it's so important to have a niche for your podcast. It's going to help you attract those loyal listeners that will tune in week after week because you're really talking specifically to them in a way that resonates with them. So the more specific you are about really what your show is about and what the vibe is and what you offer, the easier it'll be to create a show that really resonates and speaks to your community. So let's go over 4 ways to discover your podcast niche. So one option is Facebook groups. Now, there are tons of Facebook groups out there on very specific topics, and it is really easy to just hop into a few of them and read the posts to see what people in your area of expertise are talking about or what people are posting about that they're struggling with. And this will help you to think about how you can create a podcast that will help them overcome those problems, that will speak to their specific needs. And you're speaking to the right people because you've chosen Facebook groups that are targeted to your niche, your audience. And people post a lot of very valuable content in there that you can just run with and create shows around. So the number 2, research other podcasts. Researching other podcasts is a great way to determine if there are any holes or gaps that you can fill. So what is your unique spin on a topic that you aren't seeing anyone else do? You're not seeing anyone speak to your area of expertise in a way that is different, that brings your unique perspective to a podcast. So that's another way, is to look for the gaps and see where you can fill in. You always want to be thinking about what will be uniquely different about your podcasts that listeners will just be drawn to. Number 3, idea dumping. So this is a simple yet powerful way to come up with ideas for your podcast niche. So you just want to open up a spreadsheet and dump all your ideas into the spreadsheet, set a timer and do it for like a half hour, 20 minutes. And when you start seeing themes, you can create categories, and then you can start to pull out the ideas that keep bubbling to the surface, organize them, and that will give you that snapshot that you can take a look and see, okay, what's coming up, what makes sense, and what do you feel particularly drawn to? And then create your podcast around that. Finally, survey your audience. So if you already have an audience, just create a quick survey or a poll. You can do this through SurveyMonkey. You can email your subscribers. You can just create a Instagram story and ask the question and ask people what topics will they be interested in hearing about. And you can use their feedback to help you narrow down your niche. I hope these 4 ways of coming up with your podcast niche are helpful. And if you need help starting your podcast, clarifying your vision around your podcast, which I believe is the first place that you need to start, then go ahead and go over to exploreinu.com/course. And you'll be able to download the Clarifying Your Vision workbook. And this workbook I created really helps you figure out your why. Why are you starting your podcast? What do you hope to get from starting a podcast? And how will it impact your business, your brand? These are things that you should absolutely start with before starting your podcast, because creating that clear vision with the why is what's going to motivate you to actually start your podcast. And if that's something you feel like you need to help you move from, I want to start a podcast, to, oh, look at that, I started it, this workbook will be super helpful. That's all I have today. You can go to exploreinu.com/course and download the workbook. And I'll see you next time. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe so you don't miss a show. And rating and reviewing this podcast is the best way to help support us. Always remember, your voice and what you have to offer is needed in the world. Until next week, take care.